Welcome to A Taste of Connection, introductory workshop to the 10-week series Conversational Connection. I'm your host, James Prieto, and I have in mind today that we would get a little taste of what nonviolent communication is all about. And for me, that's one of the superpower skills of nonviolent communication is empathic listening. So I'll be setting up some breakouts for us to practice a little bit, and hopefully we'll get some demos too. So we'll get to see how it works before we actually try it out. And we're gonna also expand on.
Leave it.
And hello, Jenny. I just want to say hello. And maybe I'll mute you. Just there you go. And yeah, so let's dive into some conceptual stuff before we go into the actual practices. So what is this NVC thing? Stands for Nonviolent Communication. Is a consciousness of compassion and a way of focusing our attention in ways to create connection, compassionate giving and receiving. It was started by Marshall Rosenberg, who founded the Center for Nonviolent Communication. And this is the NVC Tree of Life, created originally by Enbel Kashtan. I've modified and extended it a little bit. And you imagine this being the outline of a tree, and it starts with self-empathy and a process of introspection, going into ourselves, tuning into our thoughts, our judgments, and our feelings and needs, and creating requests. So that's the process of self-empathy. And if you go up the tree a little bit, on the leftmost branch, you get into the mode of empathy, which is a respectful listening to the heart and experience of another person. And that can be verbal and nonverbal. And as you move to the right of the tree, you get into what's called honest self-expression, which is when we get to express to others what we learned in the root system of the tree. So expressing the heart of what's up for us right now. And as we leverage all three of these, we get to connect with the heart of our shared experience. And I added a couple apples there to symbolize what are called strategies, kind of the fruit of our efforts of connecting. Strategies being things that we do that we might choose to do together, or there might be solutions like, I don't know, going to the movies or riding a bike or something like that. So the fruit of our connection. And in this workshop, we're going to be focused on the leftmost branch, the empathy branch, mostly on the verbal side. And the 10-week series is focused mostly on the conversational side of life, basically developing skills of empathy and honesty, and how to, basically developing those practical skills for communicating compassionately. And that's the focus on the 10-week series. We go into a lot of depth. The ultimate skill that we are after in the series is to give you the ability to facilitate nonviolent communication, with people that don't actually practice NVC. So that's the ultimate skill that we're after. There's a series that follows on this one called Free Yourself from Reactivity that focuses mostly on the root system, the trunk and the root system of nonviolent communication. It's a series called Free Yourself from Reactivity. And yeah, it's pretty in depth, and it's enlightening in lots of ways. It's probably one of my more popular series. And we develop skills for self-empathy, allowing us to find this emotional liberation, which is so important. And the third extension of the NVC Tree of Life is going further down the root system into the unconscious. So extending the NVC practice by considering depth psychology. And so the third series is called Wild Heart, and it's based on the work by Bill Plotkin, where we learn to not only connect with our own feelings and needs, but also maybe to identify what he calls subpersonalities within ourselves, like escapists or wounded children or loyal soldiers, and even shadow. So that's the focus of the third 10-week series, which will also be on Thursdays, conveniently. So, gosh, what I'd like to do, I've realized that this kind of work is facilitated by starting with some like embodied self-connection practices. We'll do just a brief short one here so that we can arrive in the room and have a sense of calm and presence. And then we will go into more of the workshop-y things. So I invite you to, we're going to engage our body for a little bit. Some of the exercises that I'm introducing you to are kind of Zoom friendly, so you can do them at any time. First one is, I'm noticing my hands are cold, so let's rub our hands together and just generate a little bit of heat there. And just notice how it feels as you're rubbing your hands. I know mine are starting to get hot. And once you can't do it anymore, I invite you to spread that heat on your arms, maybe giving yourself squeezes along the way. Squeeze your arms. Just want to wake up the body. Let the body know that we're here. And some of you might be resistant to this activity. It's okay. You don't have to do it. But just notice what's going on. Like, why are you choosing to do it, and why are you choosing not to do it? All right. So as we transition into more of an inner practice, I want to invite you to let's do some couple of breaths together, and we'll basically raise our arms with the inhale and bring our hands down slowly with the exhale. So invite you to take a deep breath up. And exhale with your hands down. I kind of like doing like a Tai Chi thing. And we can do those together. It's kind of fun. Inhale up. Exhale down. Feel the palms of your hands as you're going down, especially. Inhale up. Exhale. Okay, two more. Inhale up. Exhale. All right, last one. Make a big breath. Inhale up. And exhale. All right, this next practice is a little bit inward. I invite you to, I turn my video off for this one, so maybe you could do the same, turn your video off, and I invite you to close your eyes, actually. I find that when I close my eyes, it's a lot easier for me to go inward. So get comfortable in your chair, and I am going to mute everyone so that we can have a little bit of a self-connection practice. And as you close your eyes, just notice notice what's happening for you right now. Are you what are some of the thoughts that are coming, and how you might feeling in the moment? You might be feeling. And more specifically, since NVC is a way of focusing our attention, I am going to invite you to focus your attention on your feet. As you focus your attention on your feet, just notice what it's like to have feet hopefully touching the ground for most of us. Say hello to your feet. And bring your awareness up your legs, towards your knees. Say hello to the knees. Continue up your legs to your sits bones. And for anything that you encounter, welcome it. Welcome, sits bones. I feel you. And if you happen to have some discomfort anywhere in your body, I invite you to also welcome it, and maybe to ask it what it might be saying. Like let's go up to our lower back. My lower back usually has stuff to say. Just acknowledge your lower back. Mine happens to be asking me to stretch it out and give it some attention later. Thank you, lower back. Now let's bring our attention up our spine slowly towards our chest. I notice that mine is just kind of doing its thing. Things like my lungs and heart are working well. Bring your attention up to your shoulders. Hello, shoulders. Yeah, mine have a little bit of tension in there. Hello, tension. Tension seems to be telling me or asking me, hey, would you be up for giving me some attention later? Like squeezes and stuff. So yeah, I think I can do that. And finally, almost finally, invite you to go up into your head space, maybe the top of your head, as we acknowledge our thinking mind. Notice that we are thinking. Maybe even tuning into why you chose to show up today. And why are you choosing to participate in this exercise? Like, is it around like learning? Is it around self-connection? Maybe feeling some curiosity? Maybe wanting to develop skills, self-mastery? So for whatever reason that you chose to be here and chose to participate in whatever form you are right now, just honor what's true for you. All right. So slowly invite you to come back into the room, and once you feel like you've arrived back, invite you to turn your video back on. And once I see a bunch of videos on, we'll get started. Or I guess we have started already, but we'll continue what we started. All right. So just kind of like setting a little background for our time together. just want to mention some agreements and intention of our time, sort of like why we're here and what we're choosing to do together. First one is confidentiality, which is kind of important to create a safe space. Confidentiality is, you're welcome to share your own experience with the world. Just don't share anyone else's, is the basic one that I like to work with. The next one is consent. I happen to be recording this. It might be used for marketing, but it's definitely going to be used for education. And the other part about consent is you get to choose how you show up, or how you participate. So your personal safety is really up to you. Compassion is the invitation to remember that we're all doing the best we know how to meet our needs, and we'll talk about needs a little bit later. And the final sort of like intention of our time together is around connection, which is really the whole point of the practice of nonviolent communication. So just to create a safe space for all of us here, if you could like raise your hand if you're in agreement with these, just sort of like give us a visual that it works. It helps to create a container. Some of you don't have your videos on yet. And I guess we could also ask it another way. If these don't work for you, please speak up now, and we'll have a short conversation about that. Cool. Thanks, everyone. All right. So this is what I have in mind for today. After a short intro, which we kind of did already, we're going to get into needs versus strategies. Really an important foundational principle of nonviolent communication. And we're going to apply that knowledge to really, really simple empathic listening. It's a super powerful skill that, you can take with you today, and you should be able to use it almost immediately. And then we'll end with a closing circle. And I am reserving about 30 minutes of unstructured Q&A. I found that to be super helpful for groups like this. All right. So let's talk about needs. And I just realized that, well, I'm gonna save this link, and I'll send you a link to a handout with needs flower, which could be helpful to y'all. So needs, the awareness of needs, the essential, universal, elemental qualities of life, like sustenance, love, and meaning. And one of my favorite definitions of needs that I use a lot is life energy in us seeking fulfillment. So there's something in us that lets us know that it wants to be satisfied. And a couple of you have taken a course with me before, looking at you, Crystal. Would you be up for giving sort of your, if you want, you don't have to, your understanding of universal human needs?
I can give it a shot.
Yeah. What are needs for you?
I don't know. They're just needs. I
Okay.
always struggle with that. It's what makes us feel alive. It's just part of everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah. It helps us to feel alive. It's part of everyday life. That totally resonates. So needs from the perspective of nonviolent communication, are what motivate all behavior. So in every moment, we're making choices in our everyday lives on, whether or not we close our eyes, or whether or not we participate in this, embodiment exercise that James is inviting us to do, whether or not you showed up to this workshop. We're doing things in order to satisfy our needs. So it's that like foundational principle of nonviolent communication, and it's kind of like a consciousness, an assumption that that humans, that life in general is doing the best it knows how to satisfy needs. So we can get into transpersonal kinds of discussions around that, but there's also a really practical part to it, and I want to make this available to you all. This is it's a PDF handout. Let's see if I can figure out how to send the link via Zoom. Are you able to see my screen right now?
I was, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to find the chat. So let me see. And I'm going to send the link here. There you go. So there's Maggie's actually going to be like supporting me as an assistant in this series. So next week she'll be here to help out. All right. So going back to sharing. So that gives you kind of an example of universal needs. I just want to say that the flower is something that I've been working on almost for, I guess it's about 10 years now. And it's gone through different iterations. But what I like about it is that it's nature-based, and it allows you to find things a little bit easier. Like towards the bottom of the needs of the flower, you have the physical needs. On the left side, you have the more personal needs like autonomy, freedom, self-expression. Towards the right are the interpersonal, interconnected needs like community, connection, empathy. And then towards the top, you have the transpersonal needs. So like beauty, love, meaning are towards the top. Right. So let's focus a little bit more specifically on some of the things that you've done today. What I'd like to do is to create a list of some strategies on the left side, and strategies on the left, and then we'll explore what might be behind the strategies. So sort of like starting it off, let's say showing up to a Zoom workshop, showing up to this workshop on NVC. So what are, let's create a list of 2 or 3 more. So I can't see your hands if you're raising them, but just go ahead and speak out into the space, unmute yourself, and give me 3 more things that you've done today, and we'll figure out what the needs are behind them. Meditation. All right. What was that last one?
Eating breakfast.
Eating breakfast. All right. One more.
Laundry. Oh, doing the laundry.
Doing the laundry. and I did Tai Chi this morning, so I'm going to put that in there because it's kind of fun. All right, so why show up to a workshop? I guess so the prompt is, imagine why. So we've done all these things, we've put our time and energy and focus into doing them. So let's imagine why. So why show up to this NVC workshop, for instance? What are some of the needs that might be satisfied by showing up to the workshop?
Learning.
Learning.
Knowledge.
Yeah, learning. For me, there's
Understanding others better.
understanding. Yeah. And for me, there's also a sense of community, like, sort of like shared purpose or something like that. Yeah, learning, understanding, community. Yeah. Maybe even, I don't know, growth. Some might even say like evolution, but that's good for that one. What about meditation? What might be the motivation behind that? Imagine what might be behind meditation.
Finding an inner
Centered and
peace.
connectedness.
Yeah, inner peace, interconnectedness. Yeah, so maybe sense of connection. Yeah, self-connection. Maybe even mastery, skill. There could be like a discipline or something like that you're developing, mastery. Yeah. What about eating breakfast?
Nourishment.
Nourishment. Nourishment.
Energy.
Yeah, energy. Let's see, which, I think that's part of nourishment. We're eating it for energy, for survival, maybe.
Pleasure.
Yeah, yeah, could be a pleasurable thing. Yeah, yeah. And for some of us, it could be like an exploration of beauty too, right? It depends on, how much thought and effort you've put into your breakfast. Yeah, absolutely. It can be, if you eat with others, it could be a community thing. It could be, if you're making breakfast for other people, it could be like contributing to others. Yeah. So anyway, that's eating breakfast. So nourishment and survival are really important. So how about like doing the laundry? That's why do the laundry?
Need for clean clothes.
Yeah, so maybe there's a health and well-being thing. Yeah. Maybe to be seen. That could be an aspect of to be seen.
To not offend others.
Yeah, so maybe like every once in a while, for me, when I'm out camping and stuff, cleaning can be a public service, right? Cleaning my clothes can be a public service. So it could be, translating that not to offend others. So contribution. Yeah, definitely. It could be that part as well. Yeah.
And slightly different. I don't know, just fit in with other people.
So belonging.
Societal norms.
Belonging, inclusion. So yeah, community. There's a community aspect. And I'm going to put Tai Chi. Well, anything else about laundry? Because there is like Greg's saying, there's a community aspect to it, wanting to like belong and come in. And Tai Chi, I'm going to say, is very much like meditation, but it adds one more element that you know, just like a sitting meditation doesn't have. And I'm just going to put it in there, movement. And then all these other things also apply. So I'm just going to copy them over. All right. So this is the basic concept of universal human needs, and it's sort of like the fuel behind nonviolent communication is yeah, it's kind of like the food, like what provides the nourishment and power to nonviolent communication is that knowledge and consciousness of universal human needs. And I'm going to give you some definitions, which I hope will be helpful as well. Let's see. So strategies are, you know, what we use or do to meet our needs. So it's sort of like the what, and it's anything related to a person, location, action, time, or object. So there's a mnemonic here that can be helpful. Plato, and I got this from NVC trainer Mickey Cashton. And the important concept here is that conflict happens at the level of strategies. So we, you know, a lot of conflict comes from confusing needs and strategies. So needs are this intrinsic motivation seeking fulfillment, or like I called it before, life energy in us seeking fulfillment. Marshall Rosenberg sometimes called needs divine energy in us. So, and it's basically we use our imagination to figure out the why behind the strategy, and we can also, you know, sometimes we have feelings that go along with that as well, and so we can also imagine the why behind the feelings to help us to discern what needs are up for us. And here's the a couple of important concepts is that, you know, needs are universal, so anyone can relate to them at some level, at some time in their life. And there's no conflict in needs. So no conflict in the level of needs. So usually, you know, there's someone that wants to have a conversation about that. So so no conflict at the level of needs. That for me is kind of mind blowing, and that shows up often in relationship. You know, so if you don't have a language or consciousness of universal human needs, then you're gonna basically be at the strategy level. But it's your turn to do the dishes, but no, but I'm tired, I want to go out for a walk, right? So those are strategies. So what NVC is inviting us to do is basically to acknowledge what needs are up for us and to have a curious inquiry and to have a dialogue around what needs might be up for the other person. So it sounds kind of simple, but it's like harder to implement and to live, and why we have 10 weeks to explore how to actually do that. But at the basic level, you know, that's kind of at the heart of nonviolent communication. There are lots of other, you know, important concepts that go along with it too, but this is one of the foundational ones. So let's see. Let me see if I can make a clear, doable request. Um, so from the participants, from you all, I'd love to hear in your own words what your understanding of a strategy is. So raise your hand if you're willing to, in your own words, give us an understanding of strategies. Greg, go ahead.
I guess it's a way of getting your needs met, trying to get your needs met.
Yeah, it's our best attempt at meeting our needs. It may or may not work, but that's what we're doing right now. Right, so like my needs for nourishment, I might go for pizza. I used to love pizza until my doctor said, hey, you're pre-diabetic, you got to cut that out. And so I had to change my strategy for nourishment. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that. And what about, again, since it's so important, would love to hear someone's understanding, in your own words, your understanding of universal human needs. So raise your hand if you're willing to share your understanding of needs. And what does it show? How's it showing up for you? Kind of looking at you, Jennifer. I don't know why. It's just have that smile on your face. Are you willing to?
Needs for me are the evidence of my humanity, the distinction between my species and animals, and needs are also for me my awareness, my connection to God.
Okay. Yeah, your connection to God. And yeah, I like that. If you happen to believe in God, that's one way of becoming alive, right? It's sort of like we have this thing in us that brings life to us. Yeah. And I want to expand on the thing about animals. I think that all living things have needs at some level. Maybe I don't know about like self-awareness. Maybe they don't have that, but maybe they do at a different level. But I would say that life does show up like in the living things, like in trees and salamanders. I have a salamander friend. But yeah, it's also a way of acknowledging our humanity, definitely. Okay, any final questions about the differences between needs and strategies? Because well, once you have this all clear, then hopefully you won't have any more conflict in your life. So that's a nice bonus you get from this workshop. Okay, so let's get into like the application of this concept. Hopefully, we'll start to tune into, well, why is this needs thing so important? So I'll give you kind of a practical application of why that concept can be useful in connection. And so here's kind of like the foundational skill of nonviolent communication: being present with another's experience, with unconditional acceptance of the person, and I would even add to that acknowledgement of their experience. And I love this picture of a little girl, with a little stethoscope reaching out to listen to the heartbeat of another person. Beautiful metaphor for what empathy is. It's that curiosity, a playful curiosity to want to tune into the experience of another person. So expanding on that, a respectful listening of the heart. And that curiosity is super important. So giving someone your full attention, your presence. And Marshall Rosenberg studied with Carl Rogers, he was one of the early humanists, along with Abraham Maslow. They created this thing called humanistic psychology. And Carl Rogers's thing was to just like give people his presence. He wouldn't say a word, just be present with people, and they'd start getting healthy just by giving them his full presence. So that's one of the foundational elements of empathy, is to be able to be present. And not everyone can do that. And so mindfulness and meditation are some of the practices that can help us to become present to ourselves. And so it's almost like a whole workshop series in itself, is how to become present, which is one of the things that'll help you to free yourself from reactivity. So that I have a whole series that's focused specifically on that. But in the meantime, we can, be as present as we can be and try to show up in the moment to listen to someone else. And another really cool thing is that empathy doesn't have to be right. So when we offer it as a gift to someone else, we may not be right on. We may not be spot on with someone else's experience, but they'll let us know. They'll fix it. So really, what's important is the intention that you have behind it. And final thing, at least in the scope of this introductory workshop, is what we're going to do is focus on identifying the need being expressed. So there's several dimensions of empathy that we're not going to cover today, but the basic one that we should be able to do is to focus on the needs being expressed. And again, you may not get it all today, and it's okay. And so what I'm going to invite you to use is to kind of focus on this template here. And so let's say that someone is expressing something that's up for them, and you're listening, with empathy. And the basic template that I'm inviting you to try out is to just say, so you value companionship. And then you pause. And this question mark, so just so you know, this green part here is where you insert the need, your guess for the need. And then, using an intonation that implies a question mark, because you don't really know. And then you pause, you stop talking. This is super important. When I first started practicing NVC, I thought I had to give a story, like a big, long story about, what I'm hearing. And this is the simplified version of listening with empathy. It's just echoing back what the universal human needs are. So what I'd like to do is set up kind of a practice for you all to try it. So, and before we practice, I'm going to look for someone to do a little demo with me. Usually have an assistant to help with that, but she wasn't able to make it today. So think about if you have, something you're willing to share about your life today, and we'll do a little demo together. But I'm going to lay out the practice that we're going to do. And I'm going to be setting up groups of 3 or 4 people. So one person is going to be answering a question for like a minute. So I'm going to give you a prompt for a specific question to answer. And then the other people in the group have the opportunity to guess at the needs that were expressed. And the first question that we're going to address as a group together is what would you like to be doing 5 or 10 years from now? So that's the prompt. What would you like to be doing 5 or 10 years from now? And so person A will answer that question for about a minute, and then we, in your group, you'll be guessing at the needs that are being expressed. So what I'd like to do is to kind of demonstrate that process before I send you all into your breakout groups. And let's see. At this point in the workshop, I'd like to know that I'm seeing about 7 people that have their cameras off. If you're available to participate, please turn on your camera so that I know you're here, and also gives us a little bit more connection with what's going on for you. So who's willing to do a little demonstration so we can do a group demo here? And you'd be answering the question, what would you like to be doing 5 or 10 years from now? And you have a minute to answer.
I'm willing to if nobody else wants to.
Okay. So Crystal, great. So Crystal, I'm going to highlight you, spotlight you, and spotlight me. And here we go. I'm going to set a timer so that we can keep track of what's. And by the way, this is based on a game by Susan Campbell. The questions and the whole format is based on a game by Susan Campbell called Getting Real. So yeah, Crystal, do you want to give it a go? So what would you like to be doing 5 or 10 years from now?
I imagine myself in a beautiful house, and it's very efficient. Like the kitchen's really well laid out. So I have like a baking section and a cooking section, and it's just a pleasure and a joy to work in, and I can see outside. And yeah, the rest of the house is well laid out. There's plenty of space, preferably all on one level, because I'm currently in a 3-story house, and oh my God, I think I've done like 100 flights of stairs some days. And everything works really well, and there's probably a kid running around, and maybe more than one, I don't know. It's a bit much for me right now, but yeah, and it's just very homey, feels cozy and inviting, and people stop by and have little dinner parties and cook lots of good food. Oh gosh, my battery.
Okay, thank you. That's about a minute. And want to just reflect some of the needs that I heard. Are you still with us, Crystal?
Yeah, I charged my laptop last night, and I just got an alert that
Okay.
it was. So I'm just moving.
Yeah. So just to reflect some of the needs that I heard, gosh, spaciousness, and yeah, maybe is there something about like companionship in that space as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so companionship, spaciousness. And when you mentioned the up and down, the stairs, maybe you're wanting some ease, maybe, I don't know, time efficiency could be around that too.
Yeah, and health, because like my knee and my hip hurt. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Ah, yeah, so something around comfort.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And any other needs that I haven't echoed from the rest of the group? Anyone hear anything else that I haven't mentioned so far? You want to give it a guess?
Maybe it was community because she said have parties and people come and eat food and contribute to food.
Yeah, community. Thank you. Thanks, Ginny.
I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Or out,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jody, and then Greg.
maybe light or outdoors. You were saying you wanted to like look through the windows and like connection to nature, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, connection to nature, maybe beauty. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Jody. Greg,
Yeah, I have no idea if there's a word for this, though maybe Germans have a word for it like they do sometimes. But like the pleasure of things being efficient. I
yeah,
don't know if other people have that
efficiency. Yeah, efficient use
I do.
of our energy. Yeah. And I see a nod from Crystal. So that's the essence of the exercise. So I'm going to set up some breakout groups for you all to practice. And I'm going to suggest that you do that same question just to sort of like get things started. And then we'll come back, we'll debrief, and I think we should have time to do a couple more rounds. Okay, so I'm going to create the breakout rooms. And so amongst yourselves, you know, self-select one person to answer the question, and the other people in the group will be answering or giving empathy at the end after the 1 minute. And I'll be sending out a signal after the minute is up. And so again, the question is, what would you like to be doing 5 or 10 years from now? All right. And so I'm gonna give like 1 minute to get settled in your group, another minute for person A to answer the question, and then we'll do about 2 minutes of feedback, you know, of guessing with empathy. All right, and then we'll come back. So that's about 5 minutes total, and I'll give you a signal 2 minutes in to know that, you know, person A is done answering the question. All right. And I see a hand raised. Greg, do you have a question?
Yeah, just, I mean, the feedback is basically trying to articulate the needs that we feel like the person expressing. Is that what
Yeah.
we're doing?
Exactly. And, you know, whatever form that comes naturally to you, kind of like what we demonstrated a second ago. Yeah. So give it a go, try it, and we'll come back and talk about it. We'll see you in about 5 minutes. All right. Hey, welcome back. Some of y'all had some technology challenges, but, you know, that's the nature of our virtual reality here. How did things go? I'd like to hear. And, you know, we'll do a little debrief here, maybe some coaching or something, and then we'll try it again. So I'd love to hear from 2 or 3 people. How did things go? It could be either a pleasant experience or maybe an unpleasant frustration. It's okay. It's all welcome.
I could go. It was quite a pleasant experience because I felt understood when the need, because I spoke about what I wanted. And then when the needs were reflected, it was like, yes, they got it. They understood me. So yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, I just want to echo back. I'm so glad you're able to participate even with your power challenges. Yeah. Anyone else? Love to hear from a couple more people. One of the advantages of speaking up also creates a sense of community. Ginny, were you about to say something?
Yes.
How was your experience?
It was very pleasant, of course, but I've had this idea in my head and I keep thinking, oh, it's a crazy idea. People are not going to get it. And having that empathetic response reflected back to me, it's makes it real. It makes me feel very validated, acknowledged, and heard, and kind of makes the dream a reality or already.
Thank you. Yeah. So it was a pleasant experience. Like you were surprised by it, is what it sounds like, huh? Thanks. Thanks. Ginny, did I say that your name correctly?
It's the harder G, Guinea.
Guinea. All right. Welcome. So glad you're here.
Thank you.
All right. Were there any questions that came out of that exercise? You know, curiosities like, you know, what's this? Any questions? Gosh, I want to hear from one of the men. Let's see. How about you, Jason? You have that sort of like look of focus on your face. How was your experience? If you're willing to share, you don't have to if you don't want to. And let's see, unmute. Let me send you an unmute thingy. And yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, it was fun. You know, figuring out how to empathize with Greg when he shared, and then we're getting around. So kind of as they were getting into my story, we switched over to here to this, but it was nice. Yeah, having folks even add ideas that were embellishing upon, you know, the original thoughts that I was having and stuff. But it was like, oh yeah, you know, that some of that's going on too. So, you know, it's kind of a richer understanding of myself and what's happening. So
All right, thanks, Jason.
mhm.
And what I heard you say, I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly, but if you join the series, you'll also realize that sometimes people use non-empathy responses in place of empathy. So there's things like telling your own story, or reminds me of when, or maybe even giving advice. I'm not saying that that's what happened for you, Jason, but there's a lot of nuances on you know, on empathy, and there's a lot of non-empathy responses that kind of tend to creep in, because that's sort of how, you know, we were raised to give non-empathy responses, you know, minimizing and anyway, so so that can happen too. But yeah, just want to any other questions about this? Otherwise, I'm going to suggest we do another breakout to have another experience with different people. Katya?
I have a question because when you say non-empathy, I'm thinking you mean, for instance, like when Natalie was sharing her beautiful vision of her future, I wanted to jump in because I was getting excited about the things that she was saying, and it was hard for me to hold myself back.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly that, I was trying to, oh yeah, that's something else I want to do too, or you know. Is that what you mean by
Yes.
non-empathy? Like, okay.
Yes, that's exactly it. And thanks so much for speaking up. And
Mhm.
and you noticed, and it's sort of like you said it, like I got so excited that I wanted to, you know, add my own stuff.
Yeah.
And so part of the practice, it's not that it's bad. It's you know, it's not wrong or anything like that. It's just that we're trying to build some awareness, some consciousness around what's going on, so that we can be at choice instead of just reacting. And and I loved how you responded. It's like, yeah, I got all excited. So that's the feeling that was coming up for you, and maybe just wanting to be heard too. You're wanting to be heard and to express yourself, and maybe share ideas. Is that kind of the gist of what was coming up for you?
Yes, but I stopped myself because I realized, no, it would be interrupting Natalie's expression. And
Oh, you just muted yourself. Not sure what
sorry,
happened there. Go ahead.
yeah, I stopped myself because I realized that it would be interrupting Natalie's expression and it may take the conversation in a different direction. And it's not about me right now at this moment of empathy. It's about, yeah, wanting to just listen or needing to just listen and needing to be heard. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Katya. That is like consciously choosing, and
Mhm.
that is part of the practice of nonviolent communication. Is sort of like, hey, it's their turn to be heard, so I'm gonna, and the invitation of the NVC practice is to give yourself empathy. Hey, I notice I'm really excited right now. So this is an internal practice, sort of like, the other person is speaking, but I'm choosing to give myself empathy right now. I'm excited. I want to be heard. And I'm choosing to, consider their needs and give them their space to express themselves right now. Yeah. So that's kind of the essence of the practice of nonviolent communication. So thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. So raise your hand if that was helpful, if to you. So yeah, look at all those hands, Katya. Isn't that awesome that, sharing your truth contributed to so much for other people? I see one, Crystal, your hand's up. Go ahead. Do you have a question? And please unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted some clarity on the timing. We had 4 people in our group and only Greg and Jason were able to go. And
Yeah, that's a good point. So some people were struggling with technology, so we're going to do it again. But ideally, person A shares for 1 minute, and then the remainder of the time, which hopefully, now that we've been through the technology hiccups, it'll be easier. And maybe not more. I mean, if you're just reflecting one or two needs, it shouldn't be more than 1 sentence per person, right? So everyone should be able to ideally practice empathy in a minute or less. So if that's not happening, then chances are that maybe you're not giving empathy.
so was just one person sharing instead of all 4 people sharing and
Yes.
giving. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay, so-
only one person gets to share, answers the question, and then the other 3 are giving empathy guesses to that one person. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
All right. So hey, let's set up another round, and we'll do a different question with different groups. I'll mix up all the groups, and let's see. So let's recreate. All right. I think everyone here is participating, so we'll have groups of 3, and the question for one person is describe the best teacher you ever had and share for 1 minute. Describe the best teacher you ever had and share for 1 minute. And so 1 minute, and I'll give you 3 other minutes. So it'll be 4 minutes total. Okay? All right. So we'll see you all in 4 minutes. All right, welcome back. Hey, we'd love to hear how that other round went. We'd love to hear from at least a couple of people. Raise your hand if you're willing to share how your experience went. Carlene, go ahead. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. I really was the sharer, and I had such great feedback given to me. And it was super interesting that everything that they named as needs that I expressed through my share, that it's actually reflected ways that I want to show up in the world.
Beautiful, Carlene. So it resonated with you kind of deeply, is what I'm hearing in that.
Yeah, truly.
Thank you, Carlene. Thanks for sharing your experience with us. I feel close to you just hearing that. Anyone else feel closer to each other as a result of the exercise? Raise your hand if that was your experience. Okay. Nice to see all the hands come up. Yeah, anyone else would like to share how your experience went? We might be able to do one more. Ginny, do you have a question? Go ahead.
I was not sharing, I was the one giving the feedback.
Mhm.
And what was interesting was I was trying to follow the script of you, want, value, long for, and the need. And I think I felt like the challenge was to say it in a question way rather than I felt like I gave it more like a decision or judgment, or that's what you want. I felt that challenge of putting it empathetically as a question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're wanting it to sound more natural.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So I just sort of like demonstrated what it could sound like. So it's almost like the question mark is an intention. And like what I just said a second ago is an example of what it could sound like. So you're wanting it to sound more natural. So it's kind of like because of the context. And I don't know, there's something about how I said it that it implies that I'm curious about it. Was that helpful?
I think that's very helpful. I think I missed the curiosity of it, and I went in with, oh, I hear you, and here is what I hear, rather than, oh, I'm curious. Is this what it was all about?
Yeah, and you can do that like energetically. It's almost like through like building trust or you know, something about the field in which you're, like the context in which you're operating in. It creates a sense of curiosity and connection, you know, with the intentions that we're, hey, my intention is to connect and support you right now. And then you sort of like give a statement and it comes off like a question, even though it's a statement. I don't know if, so there's a little bit of art to it that comes with practice. So yeah, thanks so much for your question. Yeah, so, and that's one of the reasons why we have 10 weeks is in the series, because it sort of like practice is part of, there's sort of like practice, you don't get it the first time you hear it. It's like there's an art to the whole practice of nonviolent communication. So we're almost at the bottom of the hour. In my head, I roughly, you know, usually leave like 30 minutes for question and answer, but I want to take a poll. So let's see. Raise your hand if you would enjoy doing one more round with a different question and different people, like to have a little bit more experience. So raise your hand, just sort of like getting a sense for where you're at, if you'd like to have one more round of practice. So there's a, So looks like we have kind of a majority, at least at the visual people. Some of you don't have your cameras on. So why don't we, and I suppose if you didn't want to play, you could just drop off the call or stick around and play another round. And then we'll, what I would like to do is to do a closing circle where everyone gets a chance to share for, you know, like half a minute, just like how you're feeling. So that is along with the request. So if we stay for another round, I would, you know, request that you at least stay for the closeout, so you can, you know, express how you're feeling and all that, which is important, you know, as we spent, you know, a couple hours together to give a sense for where you're landing after our experience together. Okay, so let's do one more round. Is there fun? Jennifer, you want to say something?
I gotta go.
Oh, you got to go. Okay. See ya. Bye, Jennifer. And let's see, what is that question? Oh, yeah, it was one of my favorite questions. Let's see if I can find it. The question is, describe your ideal world by completing the sentence, my ideal world is one in which. And gosh, I just realized we can do this as a large group instead of a breakout. Why don't we do that? So who would like to take a shot at answering that question? Describe your ideal world by completing the sentence, my ideal world is one in which. Anyone want to, and if you'd like, we could stop the recording too. I don't want that to inhibit anyone. So, and if no one goes, I can answer it because I it might be fun for me to participate too. Ginny, did I see you raise your hand, or are you feeling shy right now?
I can go, but
Yeah.
I think it will be valuable if you go and we all get to be empathetic. But I can go if nobody else wants to.
Yeah, I could go either way. Do you have a preference, Ginny?
I'll let you go.
Oh, you let me go. All right. Okay.
Oh, I kind of wanted Guinea to go, and
Okay.
that way we can hear your response too, James.
Oh, all
I
right.
didn't vote for the activity because I was also thinking that you were going to offer the opportunity on it anyway. That's just my
Okay, yeah, let's do
opinion.
that. So let me set my timer here. Guinea, yeah, go ahead. You have a minute to answer the question.
Okay. My ideal world is one in which everyone is safe and free to be exactly who they are, who they can be. Everyone has the right and the freedom to reach their full potential, to realize their full potential, is free to connect with whoever they want to be. It's basically safe and free and just loving.
You have another 10 seconds.
Yeah. Everybody can express themselves exactly. We're not afraid to say what we want to say. There's no fear.
Thank you. Wow. I'm noticing I feel stirred up hearing all that. It's like there's some like beauty happening in me. And this is about you. I just wanted to name that. So what are some of the needs that you are hearing Guinea express? What are some of the needs?
I heard, or the way I understood it, that there's a need for safety and freedom, self-expression and love.
Thank you.
Yes, I heard a need for the safety of being an individual and being free to express whatever you are, maybe unconstrained by societal norms or oppression or whatever.
Thank you.
And maybe I'll just add one more thing. It also makes me really curious about what that's about with Guinea. Where does that come from? because it was pretty strongly expressed.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So you notice some curiosity in yourself. Yeah. So there's some energy in there. Beautiful. Thank you, Greg. Carlene, go ahead.
I was wondering if I was hearing about meaning with the full potential and purpose.
Thanks, Carlene. I noticed that the part that had like a lot of like energy for me, gosh, I heard this part about allowing people to be fully themselves and to have the safety to do that. Was that one of the core messages for you?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's like, And part of the beauty of this practice is we can take turns, right? So like both, Greg and I, we expressed that out loud that we have some emotion coming up. And so part of, creating connection is, Guinea got to share her experience. We empathize with her, and then eventually we can skillfully, with consent, shift the focus on us. So, but we'll check in with Guinea. Do you feel like we've reflected? Do you feel like we're really getting you? Have we expressed and reflected all the needs that you wanted to express around that?
Yes, I think pretty much everything. I can think
Thank
of.
you. Would you enjoy hearing how we were moved by what you shared?
Yes, please.
Yeah. And so now we're shifting the focus from her to us. And this is part of the skill that we'll be developing in that 10-week series, is be able to go back and forth skillfully using requests, using consent. So, yeah, and I'll check again. Gosh, would you enjoy hearing from me? Like, because I noticed I was moved. And would you like to hear from me?
Yes, please.
Yeah, thanks. Gosh. Wow. I noticed getting teared up because I want that world too. I so want to be myself. I want to live in a world where people are safe and have the ability to be themselves, and that the village, the community is supporting and helping us to grow to be our true selves, that we discover the light, the reason why we're here on the planet. So I want to live in that world too, and I'm inspired that you have that shared reality, that shared desire. And I'd love to hear, gosh, would you be up for reflecting back kind of the heart of what I just said?
I am just very moved by the connection you are reflecting back to me and the emotion that you're reflecting back to me. And I'm just speechless at how deeply you've connected with my vision and made it real for me.
Thank you. Thanks, Skinny. And I'm going to extend the invitation to others too. And my request is, because I'd like to be heard too. I'd like to know that you got me. If you're willing to give me empathy for what I said. And so now the focus would be on trying to identify my needs. And if someone wants to give it a go, to connect with my needs, yeah, just for practice, we're just having a little fun here, playing a little connection game. So who's willing? Who'd be willing to reflect the needs that I expressed in a form of empathy? Carlene, go ahead.
Yes. And just do you go by James or Jamie?
James works
James,
in this context. Yeah.
So James, I was hearing that you deeply had a connection to the self-expression part of her share. And you felt that really deeply in your core, where people could be safe
Mm-hmm.
and express themselves safely
Yeah.
and
Thank
be
you.
part of a world that is so able to hold that space for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks, Carlene. Thank you for that. Yeah. Anyone else want to practice giving me empathy? So yummy. I want more. Come on. Crystal, go ahead.
Do you value connection and shared reality?
Yeah. Yeah. And beyond that, I get excited at the possibility of collaborating and creating that, like co-creating that world together. Yeah, there's something about that.
Collaboration and co-creation and excitement.
Yeah, it gives me hope for the world. That at least we can, at least do it in smaller spaces. If we can do it here, we can do it somewhere else too. So that's, yeah.
Jim,
Wow. All this nourishment, the abundance of my meal today. Someone else was about to say something. Go ahead.
I had just one quick need that I probably heard was of personal growth, of learning and constantly getting better in ourselves.
Yes. Thank you for tuning into that. That's like sort of like touching on my life purpose is to, like in the old days, at least my vision of the way cultures used to be is there's like a village elders passing on the wisdom to the younger generations. And so I guess there's a part of me that has that longing to be able to show up in my village in a way that, to invite the younger ones and to become all they can be. Yeah. So something around inspiring personal growth and yeah. Yeah. Thanks for tuning into that. That's really important to me. Jody, go ahead. You have a question?
I was wondering, I want to be respectful of the exercise, and I also like some emotions came out, like your emotions to reflect, and I was wondering if it's appropriate to do them both, or we're just sticking to needs.
That's a big question. Yeah. So so for the purpose of this introductory workshop, right? This is kind of like day zero almost. We're trying to keep it simple and just reflecting needs, but yeah, there's a lot of other things we could also be reflecting. Some of them being, feelings and connecting feelings to needs. So so that's part of the bigger thing. So that's allowed, and it's part of the practice. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say for now. Hopefully you'll join us in the 10-week series and we'll go deeper. I
Okay,
promise.
thank you.
Yeah. So just looking at the time, this might be a good time to go do a closing circle and to provide a little bit of time at the end for unstructured question and answer. So the prompt, I'm just going to kind of go around the circle here on my screen, inviting you all to share, like, in 30 seconds or less, maybe how you're feeling or like what needs were satisfied for you during our time together. Let's see. And I'm gonna, I don't know, Crystal, would you be up for going first? Sort of like you've done this before, and just to demonstrate, and then I'll kind of go around my circle here. How you feeling, Crystal?
I'm feeling a little hungry,
Mm.
but other than that, I'm feeling happy, and I feel like my need for like learning and growth, and I think like effectiveness, because I've been practicing NVC for a while, and so I can see all the progress I've made. And so, yeah, just a lot of gratitude for everyone here and you, James, as the teacher.
Thanks, Crystal. Let's see, and I'll start picking 2 people at a time to just for efficiency's sake. That efficiency word comes up again. See, Katya, are you willing to go next, and then Ginny? Ginny?
I feel really excited to practice the listening skills and empathy skills that I've touched on today, that we've touched on today. And yeah, gratitude for being present here and being able to experience this today. And I'm looking forward to learning more and being able to continue practicing and translating that into my world outside of the classroom here. So thank you.
Thank you. So glad you're here. Ginny, and then Natalie?
So I've been hearing the NVC videos or seeing the videos and Marshall Rosenberg's classes on NVC, and I've been very curious, and I've been very excited to learn. It's with a lot of gratitude that I feel like I was able to attend today. I got to see firsthand that this is possible. It's just not theory. It's not just a video, random video. Yes, NVC is possible. So what really excites me and touches me is the possible that I can make it real.
Thank you. We have that shared glow. Natalie, and then Greg. Natalie, how are you?
I really enjoyed the sense of community. Someone recommended that I learn more about nonviolent communication, because I've seen it when I was teaching younger kids at a school, and the school practiced it, and it was just fascinating to see it in action. But being here and being present with everybody, especially practicing listening, was absolutely stunning. And I can see how with practice it will become easier. So I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Thanks, Natalie. So glad you could join us. Greg, and then Monique. Greg, how are you?
I'm good. Boy, let's see here. I guess gratitude. I'm glad I came. I'm glad I'm here. Some of my, unlike Ginny, I had not even looked at a video about nonviolent communication, but I've heard about it. And so I was just curious to see what it is. And it does seem like something that I would like to pursue, and I would sure like to learn a lot more. And I'll just be really self-disclosing. I also, in comparison with many other people who are expressing themselves, I feel like I'm not nearly as articulate about my feelings than some of the other people, and I wish to be better about that. With that,
Thank you, Greg. Thanks, Monique, and then Jody. Monique, how are you? Please unmute yourself. Let's see if I can help to unmute there. There's a button. There you go.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, I'm quite hungry, as in France it's past dinner time, so that's a dominating feeling right now. But I'm also feeling elated because yeah, it's possible to be communicated with so many people from so many different countries. I've also joined the group in England. So yeah, I'm really happy that this NVC community exists.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. I hope to see you next week. Jody, and then Carlene. Jody, how are you?
Yeah, like everyone or most people have said, gratitude for getting to do this and meeting everyone and having this nice, it's morning for me, so nice way to start my day. And yeah, also just it always brings, I've read Marshall's book a couple times and I just absolutely loved it. Well, I know he's written a few, but I just fell in love with it, and it's just really just the non-judgmental, the listening, the empathy, and it's just really nice to see it in practice, because it stirs up like this longing for me that I just like want everyone to talk like this all of the time. So it's nice to see like a group going forward, because if we all do it in our lives, then that will just spread. So I really enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Carlene and then Sarah. Sarah, if you're here. Carlene?
Yeah. So I'm feeling overall really connected here. And I'm feeling really in the right place as far as the what you and others had expressed about how they like to see the world. It was just really encouraging and validating. And so yeah, so I was really curious at first. And I'm just seeing that more than just learning the information, the availability of connection in a community as a possibility. So that's really cool.
Thanks, Carlene. Hope to see you next week. Sarah and then Jason. Jason, if you're still here. Sarah, how are you?
I like Jody read it. Well, maybe we didn't read the same book, but I read a book. And I thought it was a really wonderful approach, but very challenging. And what's really interesting is that it's felt very easy and natural to listen and identify needs. And I was wondering why it feels that way here and not necessarily like the next meeting I'm going to go to. And I think that maybe what I would be curious about learning is how to navigate these barriers to empathetic listening, which I think might be due to when you come into something and you're feeling very protective. So maybe you have a barrier and you aren't able to hear because of that, or because the strategy that somebody is expressing to meet their need is in conflict with something that you want, which happens, every day. But here it was just really beautiful, the things that people shared. It was, I just feel really lucky and to have heard what I did today, and also very hopeful at the, what the future looks like for the folks that I had the pleasure of listening to.
Thank you, Sarah. Jason, and then the telephone number ending in 9653. Jason, go ahead. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what happened to my camera. I've been trying to fix that, but anyways, yeah, so today has helped my curiosity about learning more about NVC, and has been expressed by so many. This has been wonderful. to have some real life faces of really wonderful people, and it's kind of a inspiring of hope, and that you know, they're genuine, caring people that are wanting to open and do good. I guess a question that I had was,
Can I just pause the
yeah,
question, Jason, real quick? We have one more person to check out, and then after they have a chance to speak, then I'll open it up for questions. Is that fair?
oh yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jason. And
Hi, it's
go ahead.
Tracy.
Tracy.
Okay, great. You can hear me. Yes. And I have just so much hope after, even with technical difficulties. I love participating, listening, learning, and just so hopeful for humanity in the connections that were made in just such a short amount of time. And it kind of brings a tear to my eye too, just because wanting for humanity, hoping for humanity so much more. So it's just nice to have a group of people that also are on the same path from all around the world, it sounds like. And I've lived in foreign countries, so it's very encouraging to know that we have this international connection. So thank you. I look forward to being here next week.
Thank you. Forward to seeing you. All right. I think that's everyone that checked out. Inclusion is important to me, and so yeah, just opening up the floor for general Q&A. Jason, I know you had a question, and then
I apologize. Sorry, I'm just leaving. I have to go. I'm sorry.
okay, no worries. Thanks, Monique.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. And anyone else that has a question, raise your hand. But go ahead, Jason.
Okay, yeah. So back to the needs and strategies, and I was wondering if there, I guess, was a strategy or helpful ways to delineate, you know, which was which.
Yeah.
So, you know, be clear.
Yeah. It takes time to fully absorb, you know, the differences. But the mnemonic that I gave out can be really helpful in identifying if we're talking about strategies. So anything related to a person, location, action, time, or object, any of those, and you're talking about a strategy. So as soon as you identify whatever it is with either a person, location, action, time, or object, then you're talking about strategies. So that's kind of my short answer.
Okay. So I'm gonna say, like, a person's needs, you know, so we're talking about a person. So Jason needs this. So, I mean, how do you tease out?
Yeah, so
strategizing
context is everything. So I think the bigger answer to your question is, well, what's the context that you're bringing it up, and who's having the need, and yeah, and a specific example could help. So there's a difference between, you know, talking in abstractions and actually getting real with a specific scenario.
Okay.
So those are the things that we go deeper into during this series. Is we try to, I've created sort of like bite-size pieces to this complicated, I don't know, scenario of cultivating connection between people. So there's like small elements that I bring every week, and they kind of build on each other. And I don't know, that's what I've created over, I guess, 7 or 8 different times. You know, it's sort of, I learn every time that I offer this material, and I tweak it a little bit. So that's kind of the invitation, right? It's and so practicing it and doing it with another group of people is a little bit different than just reading the book and trying to make logical sense of it all. That's
Gotcha.
sort of like
Thank you.
my short answer to all of that. Maybe not as satisfying as having everything given all at once, but that's I think as good as I can do for right now.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much.
Sure. It's top of the hour. I could take maybe one or two more questions if there are any. Otherwise, we can say goodbye and good night for some of you. All right, so just opening up space for questions or. And if we're done, we're done. That's cool too.
Thank you so much, James, for your time. And this was really valuable. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
A quick question.
Yeah.
So the hours, let's see, is it 2 hours or an hour and a half? For
So the actual material class is an hour and a half, and the last 30 minutes are optional unstructured Q&A. So usually it's a smaller group of people that stay and we engage, sometimes go pretty deep in the, we call it the after party, sort of like there's value in not having structure and just like diving into issues and so the last 30 minutes are optional. And it's all recorded, so if you register and join, then you have access to the after party, even if you're not present, so you can listen to the recording. And it's the recordings are stored behind it's on a website, password protected website. Yeah, and if anyone wants to attend and finances are a challenge, send me an email and we can work something out. Some of you are in other countries, and I know the exchange rate can be challenging sometimes, so I'm sure we could find something that works for everybody. Yeah. All right. Unless there's any final questions. Part of my challenge of facilitating Zoom is pose the question and wait. It's been the feedback, just wait. So I'll do that, see if there's anything else that wants to be asked or expressed. All right. I love silence too. It can be golden. So thank you all for showing up. And it's been a pleasure to hang out for a bit. I feel more hopeful as a result. Have a good week. I hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.